We are in conversation with Janelle Hill from Gartner. Ma'am, thank you so much for talking to Fin Business. There are 2-3 areas specifically I would like to learn from you. If you look at fintechs, they are rising all over the world right now, and the financial services is the sector which is adopting fintechs like there is no tomorrow. So, with your great experience and the whatever you learn from your clients, could you please tell us, or could you please decode with us that what kind of how actually the financial services looking at fintechs right now, specifically the traditional banks, traditional insurance companies who build up their businesses on a different model, and suddenly the digital has created a havoc or a disruption in the market. So how actually they are reading fintechs right now?
The traditional banks are very scared by the fintechs, very threatened by them. And depending on the bank, of course, you're going to see different reactions. But I think some of the most interesting and promising reactions are, for example, as from Capital One, which actually has been acquiring multiple digital design agencies. It's actually made 2 very large acquisitions in an effort to compete with the fintechs who know how to design a digital experience, particularly for younger consumers, where the traditional banks with more established, older, conservative customers are really struggling with how to create a digital experience that's appropriate for their traditional customers. So they've acquired digital design companies. We've seen the same thing in Latin America. BBVA is another big bank in Latin America, also acquired a digital design company. And it's one thing to make an acquisition of digital talent and people who digital design is all about people-centric design, really figuring out what the different personas are in my target audience and what's the right solution for those people. Everything the digital design agency does is about 100% or 180 degrees different than how traditional IT in a bank has worked. So that's been a really interesting dynamic. Some of the banks have, Capital One in particular, has been quite successful in that they acquired a digital design firm that was based in California, and Capital One headquarters is in Charlotte. So completely different coasts of the United States, keeping the digital design team intact and very separate from traditional IT, but then when they come up with a digital design, figuring out how to integrate that into their business. Okay,
so instant reaction or immediate question that comes to my mind. Recently I was going through a report where the Goldman Sachs CEO specifically quote this, that going ahead we will not expand. Going ahead will not increase the number of branches, but we will reduce the number of branches. So is that going to be the new trend in traditional bankings all over the world?
We're seeing that a lot, with the increasing focus on you can do everything at the convenience of your mobile phone or from your home online, that there's very little need for the traditional bank. So we do expect that trend to continue. At the same time, just today, in fact, I saw an article about a totally different industry, Walmart. It was Walmart, trying to find reasons to bring customers back to the store. And actually suggesting that maybe the prices online were actually going to be higher than if you go in the store. So to me, that's an interesting indication of a counter approach to some of the trends we're seeing in digital. Whether that goes into banking, I don't know. I think the move away from the traditional branch has been happening in banking for a long time, right? We all learned how to use ATMs. True. So maybe this is really just the evolution of that.
Okay, so at one side, when you look at fintech specifically, or the payment gateway companies, whether Alipay or the Google Pay or the Apple Pay, they are the market size of these companies specifically are as big as a bank. So going ahead, do you believe, or is it already happening, that the fintechs will take over banks?
I don't think it's already happening. It's certainly a threat. Some of the banks are actually trying to acquire the fintechs, and once again, it's a move to acquire the thinking and the talent that's different and blend that into the more traditional. I mean, long term, a lot of the trends in digital will really, I think, blend with the physical world.
Okay.
I don't think we're going to go purely to a digital model, but I think we'll see this blending. And you see that in all industries, again, today as well.
Okay.
Whether it's digital, Amazon acquiring Whole Foods, digital acquiring physical, or physical acquiring digital, I think it's going to go both ways, and we'll find a happy balance in the middle.
Okay. So the way financial companies or financial services companies are adopting fintechs, whether in a payment side, whether in a lending side, or in most of their operations, what is the major challenge? What is the major pain point while integrating, while collaborating with fintechs? Because there are different regulations, there are the traditional norms of the banks. So what is that 2-3 points you believe are the major pain points?
A little out of my comfort zone, to be honest. I think regulatory is going to be one of them, because the traditional banks are much more heavily regulated, where the fintechs have been a little bit more protected and are willing to break the rules and push on the limits. I think that's one issue. The second issue is, I think the whole approach to what's a bank. And what do people really want from a bank? Is it a utility that just makes it very easy for me to make my payments? Or is it more a personal relationship focused on my personal wealth? And is it really my investment advisor? I think those are going to be real challenges, where just the thinking about what's a bank and what's its purpose is quite different. Those are the two, for me, that seem to be the biggest.
Financial services are adopting fintechs. Fintechs are rising. Traditional banks and financial companies are not expanding much, but adopting fintechs. Going ahead, if you take a span of 5 to 10 years, where do you see financial services globally?
I think financial services is going to be operating much different than it does today. I think it's quite likely that many economies will move away from physical currency, and that they will be more brokers in between financial transactions in a different kind of capacity than they are today. And today, there's more one-to-one relationship, me to my bank. They hold my mortgage, for example, that's where I keep my deposits, that kind of thing. In the future, I think they will be more just the intermediary between me and a third party, and literally just a service provider handling the transactions and making maybe a small bit of profit on the transaction, but not that one-to-one relationship anymore.
Those are great insights, Janelle. Thank you so much
You're
for talking
very
to
welcome.
Fin Business. So that was Janelle Hill, who has spoken a lot about financial services globally. Thank you so much for watching Fin Business.